loves, and welcome back to the Siren's Library. Today we're going to be doing a review of A Study in Drowning. I just finished this book, so I'm like fresh in my thoughts about my thoughts on it. So I wanted to just do a little bit of a non-spoiler free review on here because I have a lot of thoughts. This is advertised as a dark academia book. Is getting compared a lot to Divine Rivals, which is one of my favorite reads of the year, which I don't understand why it's getting compared to Divine Rivals. I mean, I can kind of see how people are trying to pin this book as like a Rivals to Lovers kind of book, but it really didn't read like that to me at all. They weren't really rivals to lovers, but let's just backtrack a little bit. So the story is about Effie, who is basically a student, is the only woman at an architectural college, and she wins this contest to design her late favorite author's estate. And so she, heads the estate, and that's where she meets the male main character. And the story kind of develops from there, except that, the mailman character, Preston, he has his own reasons for being there because his focus is more on like the literature portion, while hers is more like the architectural side because that's the college she's in. However, she has a deep love for literature, but she will not be accepted into his school. So it's like, there's like a little bit of this is when it starts working through the feminism aspects of the story, because it does have a lot of feminist angles, especially when it dealing with a lot of the politics between like the school and being in very male dominated spaces where they're making the rules, and because of that, women are not allowed to do certain things. But I felt like the way that this book was executed, while it read, it had some very beautiful, interesting points. It was a little bit hard for me to get through, because certain things didn't work well within the story for me. And again, I'm trying to keep this like spoiler free, so I'm thinking like how to phrase certain things. This book is getting compared a lot to Divine Rivals, as far as being a rivals to lover story. I don't really think this one really is a rivals to lovers. Like Divine Rivals is a rivals to lovers, like they were actually rivals, like they had reasons to like beef. But in A Study in Drowning, it's not really rivals to lovers. It's just that they both do different things and they have two different opinions. That doesn't make them enemies. That just makes them having differences of opinion. He believes that her favorite author didn't write the book that she so loves and it's very famous for, and he's doing a little bit of a deep dive in the estate, trying to discover anything that could help prove his theory, because he's also not the only person that historically in the book has believed that her favorite author didn't write the book that he's so famous for, and so they there's like this other like which is really the main plot. There's that main plot happening on the side of what he's supposed to be doing, and so I felt like the story, while again it has this really big like feminism focus, and Effie is someone who's been through a lot of trauma when it comes to her family, when it comes to even how she deals with trauma. It's a very emotional book in that sense, when it comes to how she deals with her trauma and how she expresses it and navigating through it. I just felt like certain things about this book didn't make sense. It was a little bit it was hard for me to get through. Like it was also hard for me to enjoy certain parts of it, because some things about it, like some of the minor details didn't really make sense to me, and certain things really frustrated me, like the fact that every single like guy that any other male in the book was like, they would be having a regular conversation with Effie, and all of a sudden, randomly, they'll start being a creep, and will start kind of making a pass at her, and it was just like, you can't have, like, no male character can have a conversation with her without turning into like a really weird, creepy moment. And it was just like annoying to read, because I didn't like, it really caught me off guard sometimes. They're like she's trying to ask questions and talking about this, and all of a sudden, oh, you're so beautiful, and all da da da, and then all of a sudden it just turns into this like weird thing. And some of the male characters like have this weird like possessiveness towards her as well. And it just felt like, and the only one that does not act like that, and I feel like this is why some people do compare it to Divine Rivals, and like Roman not necessarily being like oh, I'm so strong and powerful, more like he's like a sweet Mr. Darcy-esque kind of like male main character. Like Preston is the only one that doesn't treat her that way, and is very, very like nice to her in that way, but he's also very he's not afraid to like speak his mind as well, and just like be honest with her. But it's just, I just felt like to make the only decent dude and who in the story the main love interest, and not have any other type of decent male, like I feel like there's certain conversations that just didn't need to be had. And I understand, like, as someone who is a woman in this world, right? Even though this is a fantasy book, that, you know, we go through a lot of different experiences, we get hit on, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. But I cannot say that in every single experience that I have with a man, every single one of them we're having a normal conversation, and all of a sudden they make a pass at me. All of a sudden they're you know, they get possessive over me, and all, like, it just, I couldn't relate to that. I could relate to the, you know, like being hit on, because it happens, right? Like, unfortunately, that it happens. But every single one, it was hard for me to like connect to that, because it was just like, oh my god, she's just beautiful to all of these men. They all want her. They're all feeling possessive over her. Like, it just felt really uncomfortable to read, when it couldn't, like, it could, you know, one or two, okay, it happened twice, but like after, it's just a little bit, it just felt like too much. It just felt like it just, okay, like, again, this is a very feminist kind of centered book when you're talking about different issues, but it's like every single one of the male characters, except for the main love interest, is not a piece of shit. Like, it just frustrated me to read, and it just made it feel very unrealistic to me personally. I don't know, I have to say that. And there was other like minor details about it that I was just like with the some of the beliefs that she had, and also like some of the things that happened, like the minor details, like when she went to go ask for the blueprints, and he had it in his back pocket. Like the line is like, oh, he pulled his back pocket? He pulled the blueprint from his back pocket and just handed it to her. And it just read like the blueprint was like a little piece of paper that you just folded over. I used to work in a printer shop, and blueprints are fucking huge. Like, they're huge. Like, some of the smallest ones that I've ever printed were like 18 inches, but they were like long. Like, they wouldn't just fold over in your back pocket. Like, your pocket would not be big enough to hold it. Like, they fold over and they're really, really big. So I was like, the estate blueprints cannot be this small. Like, it just, there was just like some minor details that just didn't feel like were researched properly. I don't know. Like, I had some issues also with like the Fairy King as well. Like, it just, I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand more. Some of the like the lore with the world building felt like certain things were off and certain things were not, like we didn't dive deep enough with, and it left me wanting more. This is why I ended up rating it like 1 star, because I I had a hard time getting through it. Even the love story, it felt like it kind of went from 0 to 100 in a lot of aspects. But also at the other, there were parts of it where it just didn't feel like romantic. I don't know, like it was hard for me to like believe that they were, you know, like in love or or like this tension or this attract. It was hard for me to believe that. Where like in Divine Rivals, like there's you know Roman's in love with her when he shows up. Well, I'm not gonna get into I'm not trying to spoil Divine Rivals for you guys, but you know Roman's in love with her, like you know why he's there, you know, like and you know you already have this building with like Iris and Roman, so it's I understand that people are comparing it to Divine Rivals because of this like, oh, academic rivals type of thing, but it's not really that. They just don't, you know, she believes that her favorite author wrote it and he doesn't, and he's questioning it, he's researching that, and then he ends up asking for her help, and they just go into discovery mode, and she, you know, the story develops from there. But it's not really, they're not rivals, they're not enemies, you know. He didn't spit in her food when at dinner time, he didn't like do something to make like they're not enemies, they're just people with differences of opinion that end up having to work together and end up getting together along the way. The book, while it's slightly slow, the story develops kind of quickly as well, within the context of the time that she's supposed to be there doing the work that she's doing. So the love story and everything just kind of develops really quickly. And you know, it was just, I don't know, I had a hard time with it. I'm just being honest. Like it was a 1-star read for me, because I had a hard time with it because certain things didn't felt like, you know, were executed the best. I love some of the quotes, and this is probably, you know what, I'm gonna change it to 2. It's a 2 out of it's a 2 out of 5. Because there was a lot of really beautiful quotes and a lot of beautiful lines, and the plot twist I definitely saw coming. I really liked the things that I liked about the book were when they were, you know, going through the home and looking for, well, I'm not trying to have it, you know, be super spoilery, but when they were doing their investigation and stuff, and the visuals within the estate and stuff, I thought those parts were written really beautifully. There was some beautiful quotes as well, but it's just like the other stuff was just like, I didn't like the majority of my reading experience. I didn't enjoy it. So those are my thoughts. That is my review on A Study in Drowning. I hope that you guys understood this review. I'm sure this is one of the most anticipated like books on BookTok right now, and I just had a hard time with it. And I literally threw myself in. I was reading, and I had a hard time with it. So yeah, let me know if you have any like questions and stuff, or like what, if you read the book, what you thought of it. Would you compare it to Divine Rivals? I definitely would not. Those two books are so different for me. But I love dark academia books, and I'm just disappointed that this is not one that I can enjoy. So yeah. Anyway, I will close it off here. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.